We are not claiming that we are the only ones who have haqq. Never we're claiming that. Everyone has haqq in them. Everyone does. Muslims have haqq. You think the non-Muslims, they don't have truth in them? Of course they do. But it is a matter of how that haqq is going to have power or not. Are you going to give the haqq power, or are you going to give the batil power? So everyone has haqq in them. We are saying, we are claiming that we are Hakkanis, to stand up for the truth, defenders of the truth. If you defend, you have to have power, and you have to have the braveness against what this whole world is saying, to say that we're going to do the opposite. Like what we said earlier, there is the way of haqq and there's the way of batil. If batil is showing love in a certain way, haqq should not. Haqq must not. Otherwise, the people who are looking for haqq, but they are being surrounded by batil, they're going to get very mixed signals. Then they would not know. Because the fact is, batil will always try to look like haqq. Haqq never should try to look like batil. If the haqq tries to look like batil, there's something wrong there. Like I said, there's some corruption there. So identity is very important. And the identity of Hazrat Hussein was very distinct at that time. His identity was very different. He was walking away. That was his destiny. That was what was written for him. And that was what the secret was put at that time until today, that for the wudu, that is given for this ummah to take. What is that? Two things. Two things that with the Karbala it is showing. One, it is showing betrayal. That is a lesson for us, all of us. Don't think that we don't have that or we are free from that. We are not. Like what we spoke about earlier, our way in this tariqat, it is to have certainty. But in order to have certainty, go renew your wudu. In order to have certainty, you have to have the power to get rid of all uncertainty from your heart. In order to get rid of that uncertainty, you must always be suspicious of your faith. If you are certain of your faith, there's a time shaitan and your ego will fool you. If you're uncertain of your faith, and every day you're questioning your faith, leave him alone. There's enough interruption going on now. Listen carefully. This kind of sohbet is not happening every day. I know your intentions may be good, you're trying to help, but understand, shaitan is trying to trick, trying to pull you, trying to distract you. Stay a little bit maybe, 5-10 minutes. Later you can talk much as you want. Once, twice, 3 times, then I have to say. Otherwise, you see, if I don't, it'll just continue whole time. So, this way it is teaching us, in order to have certainty, you must look for the suspicious things that is in your faith and to get rid of them. We must be suspicious of our faith. As the saint has said, only a believer will think that he is a hypocrite. And only a hypocrite would think that he's a believer. Of course, it's very easy to think this way. It is very hard to follow a teacher and a guide who's going to tell you this way to you. Everyone can sit down theoretically. Yeah, I'm very bad one. I'm a hypocrite. I'm the worst one. I'm the worst one. But if you have someone tell you, you know what? You're an idiot. What do you mean I'm an idiot? You're a donkey. I'm not a donkey. Oh, the ego then rise up to Sidratul Muntaha. Who is our role model in this? Of course, Holy Prophet ﷺ, who is teaching us that the root of this evil, it is not shaitan, it is our ego, it is our nafs. So dangerous was our nafs that he said, Ya Rabbi, do not leave me in the hands of my nafs, in the hands of my ego, even for the blink of an eye. But who is our role model of sincerity? Who was that one? That he did everything for the sake of Allah and for the sake of Islam, for the sake of the Prophet ﷺ. But still he was unsure of his faith. Before the Holy Prophet ﷺ passed, he gave a list of the munafiqs to one companion. A list of the munafiqs, all the hypocrites that is hidden amongst his sahabis. You think Prophet ﷺ did not know? You think the high-level sahabis, they also did not know? They know, but they have lutuf. They have subtlety. Now this sahabi, he was given the charge saying, don't release these names, you have no permission to say, until I pass. When word got around that this particular sahabi, he had the list of all the munafiqs, the first one to go up to him, to ask him, was Hazrati Umar, radiallahu an. He went and he says, tell me, am I on that list? The Sahabi looked at him and smiled and said, I cannot tell you, Ya Umar. He says, tell me. I don't have permission to tell you. Oh, today's Muslims, no one is going to question their sincerity. Everyone thinks they're in the Sidratul Muntaha. Everyone thinks they are saved. That's why they like conferences, but they don't like sohbats. Because conferences where you pay money, where everyone is paid money, no one is going to tell you that you're a hypocrite and to watch out for the hypocrisy. They're going to give you handouts. They're going to give you books and book signings to make you feel very nice, just like Comic-Con, just like that. But Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh, he was afraid. He did everything. But he asked, am I on that list? Because only a believer would think that he is a hypocrite. And only a hypocrite would think that he is a believer. Our kalima is saying La ilaha illallah non-stop. Because that ilah appears to us non-stop. That's why we have to say it. If we are going to saying that if we have the correct aqidah, Allah is only one, then why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying فَعَلَمَ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ from the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ to now, 1438 years have passed. Never those words of La ilaha illallah is going to finish. Never people are going to stop saying it. More we say, more blessings going to come to us. More nearness going to come to us. More is going to polish our hearts. Because we accumulate these ilahs. Just as in the first Jahiliyyah they accumulate all the ilahs around the Kaaba. Now it is time for us to clean this Kaaba from the ilahs that are around it. Now it is a time for us to get rid of this throne of Allah from other things and other ilahs that we have put there. It is very fashionable now for everyone to be celebrating Ashura. I'm saying it's a fashionable because 5 years ago, hardly. 10 years ago, you cannot even say. 50 years ago, they say if you do that, which is not so good by saying this, I'm not supporting. They're saying if you do that, they say you are Shia. Yes, Ahl Sunnah, we have always remembered Ashura. Especially the Ottomans, and especially the Naksibendis. In a time when the Ottoman state was at war with the Safavids, when the time of Ashura came, when most of the other tariqats that is very strongly holding on to Hazrati Ali, but because of the politics that was going on at that time, they withdraw themselves. The Nakshibendi Shaykhs went to the At Maidan and they would recite a poem praising Hazrati Hussein and the martyrs of Karbala, because they are not afraid. Because our rights on Hazrati Hussein is more than those ones. Because we understand that two things we have to take from the events of the Karbala. One, that we mentioned, betrayal, to look out for betrayal. It is a warning from that time until now that there will always be betrayal, especially in this ummat. Watch out for it. And every loss, every failure, every humiliation that has fallen to this ummah, it is because of betrayal. It is not because we have less or we know less. It is because of betrayal. And the confusion of the Zahir Zaman is because of the betrayal of our leaders. And the second, that Karbala is teaching us, it is sacrifice. To have haqq, to live haqq, look to see to the Ahlul Bayt. Look to see that to have haqq in these times, especially in these times, you have to be ready to sacrifice everything. Yes, it is very fashionable these days to remember the Karbala. But it is nothing but hypocrisy. Because you're just taking that as a ritual too. You're not understanding what Hazrat Hussein was standing up for. If you did, those ones who are celebrating, the big imams and big sheikhs, you would stand up to the Yazids of this time. You would stand up to the Yazids of this time, and you will say to the Yazids of this time, and there are millions. You're going to stand up and say to the Yazids of this time, you're on the way of battle. So easy to sing, so easy to dance. Very difficult to sacrifice. Because to do that, you have to sacrifice. You will start standing up. For those ones at that level, they have to stand up. So those ones at that level, the high level, we are very low level people, alhamdulillah. We want to remain that way in this Ahir Zaman. But we have to deal with the Yazids that are inside of us. If we don't take this lesson, then whatever that had happened 1400 years ago, it was nothing but a performance. That's why people are making a performance about this. If you are taking that full lesson and you're putting in your life, you can turn this world into a paradise. We are nothing. We are no one. But we are suspicious of our own faith. We are looking every day to see what it is that is destroying our faith today. My arrogance. What is it? My ghaflat. What is it? My anger. What is it? My fear of everything but except Allah. My laziness. My greed. Look, you don't need to read too many books. Read your book. Sit down and read your book. That time, sit down and apply. When you start doing that, we are preparing ourselves for a bigger event that is going to happen. We are preparing ourselves, yes, for the return of Hazrat Hussein. Because that story did not finish. Our story is not finishing. The story of Islam is not finishing. It is continuing. Unless we know what is the mission, what is it that we have to do, everything else, like I said, is just going to be a story, a performance. May Allah forgive me and bless you, inshallah. May Allah bless our Shaykh and put him to higher stations and make us to always be under his feet and to understand what is haq and what is batil in these times, not to be confused, and to pull us out from the confusion of this Akhir Zaman. For the sake of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, Al-Fatiha. Amen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Now, this is a sunnat on the day of Ashura that we're going to eat something. See, Ashura, it is called. This is a sunnat from the time of Nuh alayhi salam. That on the day of Ashura, when the ship of Nuh landed, and they were coming out from that ship to the world, and for the first time in 40 days they're seeing the sun. They took the surma and they put it in their eyes, which is why it is a sunnat in these days to put the surma, the day of Ashura. The other thing is to eat the Ashura. They gathered everything that was in the ship and they put them together and they made them into that. So we are the only ones, the Muslims from this nation, that is continuing that sunnat all the way from the time of Nuh alayhi salam. Tariqat makes you to revive not only the sunnat of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, but the sunnat of the earlier prophets too. This is what makes the religion more beautiful and more complete. This is what makes all the earlier prophets to love this nation as well, to fall in love, because not even their nation is doing it. You understand? Their nation are not doing it. This is the time when Musa alayhi salam delivered his people, the Bani Israel, from Egypt. But they play around with the calendar so much that they're putting it completely another day. For what? For dunya, not for akhirat. But we are still fasting on that day. Like the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, we have more rights on Musa than you do. We have more rights on Isa than them. We have more rights on Hazrat Ibrahim. We have more rights on all the prophets than their nations do. These are the days we should wake up a little bit to understand what is this rahmat, what is this honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us in this nation. And that we have the prayers of 124,000 prophets. In these holy times, we should wake up, inshallah rahman. Any questions? Anyone else? Yes? You have something? This much is enough. Al-Fatiha. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.